Right, hi guys. So this is a prediction for paper 2 of the IGCSE Edexcel maths paper. And this is a breakdown of all the topics that have not been tested yet. So these topics were not included in the paper 1 exam. So it's a nice guideline of what could potentially come up. Now, it's not perfect. Topics that were previously tested may still be tested. However, like I said, this is a nice guideline for you to tailor your revision towards the topics that have not been tested yet. And in this video, I'm going to go through one question from the number section and one question from the algebra section. And then in the second video, we can do geometry and stats. So nice and easy, we'll start with fractions first. So if we have a look here, as this is a calculator paper, you always need to show your steps. So your first question is going to be, work this out using or showing all of your steps. You could use your calculator to help you along the way, but your steps need to be written down nice and clearly. So 2 times 7 is 14, plus 1 is 15, so we get 15 over 7. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5, so we get 5 over 4. And then what we want to do is find a common denominator, so we're going to multiply the 7 by 4, and the 15 by 4, 4 by 7, 5 by 7. So we get 60 over 28 plus 35 over 28, which will give us an answer of 95 over 28. Now, it doesn't say give your answer in its simplest form or as a mixed number, so you could in theory leave it like this. However, more often than not, they will ask you to simplify your answer or give it as a mixed number. So 95 over 28, well, 28 goes into 95 3 times, so 28 times 3 is 84. So 95 minus 84 leaves us with 11. So our answer is going to be 3 and 11/28. And that is the answer. Right, the next one, so we are now dividing. Just one thing actually before I move on, you could have added the whole numbers first and then did 1/7 plus a quarter. Could have also done that. The reason why I didn't do that is because when you are subtracting, this method can be a little bit awkward. So I find this is more error-proof. However, if you prefer to do 2 plus 1 first, which gives you 3, so you could have in theory did 3 plus 1/7 plus a quarter, and then simply worked with these, which in this case, it would have probably been the easier method. So you could do it this way as well. Right. Next question. So we're dividing fractions. So dividing means the same as multiplying by the reciprocal of a fraction. You may have also learned it as KFC, so keep, flip, change. Now, 1/5 is going to be 6 over 5. So we get 6 over 5 times the reciprocal 3/4 is 4/3. So that's going to be 24 over 15. We can divide both of them by 3, so we get 8 over 5, and that's going to be 1 and 3/5. And again, every step of the way has been shown. All right, brilliant. So let's move on to the next section. So if we go onto the home page, we can now have a go at questions on HCF and LCM. It says work out the highest common factor. Now you could draw a Venn diagram, but this question it might be a little bit tricky, but we can go ahead and do it. So we've got A, B, and C. Now, the HCF is the intersection of all three numbers. So if we have a look, they all have 2 squared. So we can put 1, 2, 2, 2 in the middle. So that's the 2's dealt with. How many 5's do they all have? They all have 5 squared. So that's going to be 1 5 and another 5. So we've dealt with the 5's. And they all have only 1 7. So our it says write your answer as a product of prime factors. So actually, all we need to do with this one is write the HCF is equal to 2 squared times 5 squared times 7. And if you wanted to have a look at the answers, you can always do so. So we get 2 squared, 5 squared times 7 as our answer. Okay, brilliant. So let's go back onto the home page. Actually, we could do another question on this. So now we have an LCM question. And again, a Venn diagram comes handy. So since this is an LCM question, uh, we need to break these down into their prime factors. So we've got 108 and 120. 108 is divisible by 3. 1 plus 8 is 1 plus 0 plus 8 is 9. So this is definitely divisible by 3. So 108 divided by 3 is 36. So we get 3 and 36. And here we get 6 and 6. Neither of them are prime, so I don't know why I'm circling them. And then we get 2 and 3 and 2 and 3. With 120, we could divide it by 4, so we get 4 and 30, 2 and 2, and we get 15 and 2, and 5 and 3. So if we draw our Venn diagram, we have 108, we have 120. Start from the middle first. So what numbers do they both have in common? So they both have 1, 3. We only allocate it once. They have one pair of twos. They have another pair of twos. Are there any other numbers they have in common? Is there another 3 here? No, there isn't. So for 108, we're left with a 3. And if you just want to make sure, multiply these numbers together, and we have another 3 for that matter. Multiply these numbers together and see if it gives you 108. So we need to do 3 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. So that's going to be 27 times 4, which is in fact 108. And then what we're left with for 120 is a 2 and a 5. So 2 times 5 is 10. So 10 times 3 times 2 times 2 is going to give us 120. So when we multiply these numbers, we still get 120. So I know my Venn diagram is correct. And then to find the LCM, we simply multiply all of the numbers in our Venn diagram. So we've got 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be 3 cubed times 1, 2, 3, 2. So 2 to the power of 3 again, times 5. So what is that going to give us? So we get 27 times 8 times 5, which gives us 1080. So this is an LCM question, and again, we can have a look at the mark scheme. 1080 is the correct answer. Now this one, it says express 8a as a product of its prime factors. So if we have a think about this, well, 8a means 8 times a. So 8 as a product of its prime factors will be 2 cubed. So what we're doing is saying 2 cubed multiplied by a. Well, we know a is 2 to the power of n times 3 times 5m. And now we need to use our laws of indices here. So when we have the same base, we simply add the powers. And that makes sense because if I had 2 to the power of 5 times 2 squared, well, this is going to be 2 to the power of 7. Or another way of writing this, which we often don't, is 2 to the power of 5 plus 2. So using this laws of indices, we can say our answer is 2 to the power of 3 plus n times 3 times 5m, and this is our final answer. Okay, let's go back to the home page. And the next question we can do is a question on ratios. Okay, so let's have a look at this one here. It says there are 90 counters in a bag. Each counter in the bag is either red or blue, so that the number of red counters to the number of blue counters is in a ratio of 2 to 13. So we know 2/15, so 2 out of 15 are red, and 13 out of 15 are blue. And the total is 90. So we can work out 2/15 of 90. So 90 divided by 15 times 2 is 12. So 2/15 of 90. You could simply do 2/15 times 90. And 13/15 of 90 is therefore going to be 70. So 6 times 13 is 78. Okay, so it says Lee is going to put some more red counters in the bag so that the probability of taking a red counter from the bag is now 1 out of 3. Okay, so currently the probability of red is 12. So currently the probability of red is going to be, so probability of red is 12 out of 90. However, Lee's going to put some more red counters in the bag, right? So we are going to put our amount of reds in the bag. So what's going to happen is the number of red counters is going to increase, but our total is also going to increase as well. So the new probability is going to be 12 plus R over 90 plus R. So we've added some more extra red counters to the bag, which means the total is also going to increase as well. Now, this probability is equal to 1 over 3. And now we simply need to cross multiply here. So we are going to get 3 multiplied by 12 plus R and 1 multiplied by 90 plus R. So now what we end up with is 36 plus 3R is equal to 90 plus R. So if we subtract 36 from both sides, 90 minus 36 is 54. And if we subtract R from both sides, we get 2R. So R is equal to 27. So work out the number of red counters Lee's going to put in the bag. The answer is in fact 27. And if we have a look at the mark scheme here, we get an answer of 27. Do another question on ratios. So let's have a look at this one. It says Chris, Debbie, and Errol share some money in the following ratio. Debbie gets 120. So we can see that, and sometimes it's nice to draw these out. So we've got 1, 2, 3. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and we've got 1, 2. And these are all equal parts. I know I've not drawn them well, but they are exactly equal parts. So Debbie, we've got Chris, we've got Debbie, we've got Errol. Debbie gets 120 pounds. So 4 parts is 120. So 120 divided by 4 is going to give us 30. So each part is 30 pounds. So now we can work out how much Chris and Errol also get. So Chris gets 90 and Errol gets 60. It says Kristen gives some of his share to Debbie and some of his share to Errol. The money that Chris and Debbie and Errol each have is now in this following ratio. So in essence, the total amount of money has not changed. So our total has not changed. It's just Chris was a little bit generous and he gave some of his money to Debbie and Errol. So if we add these up, so 120 plus 60 plus 90 gives us a total of 270. Now we need to divide 270 in the new ratio. So 270 in a ratio of 2 to 5 to 3. So the total amount of parts is going to be 10. So one part is equal to 270 divided by 10, which is 27. Now, let's just write this out again. So we've got Chris, Debbie, and Errol. So Chris is going to be 2 times 27. Debbie is going to be 5 times 27. And Errol is going to be 3 times 27. So what is that going to be? We've got 54. We've got 135. And 3 times 27 is going to be 81 pounds. And if you add these up together, your total will still be 270. So let's just test this out. So 81 plus 135 plus 54, excuse me, is still equal to 270 pounds. But it says, how much money did Chris give to Errol? Well, Errol started with 60 pounds. He's now at 81 pounds. So Errol received 21 pounds. All right, perfect. And I think it's worthwhile to do one more ratio question. So if we have a look, 21 is correct. We can skip this one for the meantime, and we can have a look at this one here. This one is quite a tricky, wordy ratio question. So, excuse me. So on a Saturday, some adults and some children were in the theatre. The ratio of the number of adults to the number of children is 5 to 2. Each person had a seat in the circle or had a seat in the stalls. Now, might be worthwhile to just draw a two-way table here. So we've got adults, we've got children, we've got seats in the circles, or the stalls. Now, it says 3/4 of the children had seats in the stalls. 117 children had seats in the circle. Okay, so 117. So 117 children is equal to 25% of children, right? Because if 3/4 of the children were sitting in the stalls, then that means 1/4 was sitting in the circle. So 1/4 is 25%. So we need to now work out what 75% is, because 3/4 is 75%. So 75% of children in terms of numbers, well, that's going to be 25 times 3. So 117 times 3 gives us 351 children. So we can fill this in. So the number of children in the circles, so this was circles. Children in circles is going to be 117. Children in stalls is therefore 351. And we can work out totals here as well. So 117 plus 351 is equal to 468 children in total. Now it says there are exactly 2,600 seats in a theatre. On this Saturday, were there people on more than 60% of the seats? Well, since we know the ratio of the number of adults to the number of children is 5 to 2, we need to work out the number of adults. So similar to the previous example, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 adults to 2 children. So we've got adults, we've got children. Now we know the total amount of children is 468. So 468 divided by 2 gives us 234. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the total number of adults is going to be 5 times 234, which is equal to 1,170. So the total number of adults is 1170. So the total number of people, including children and adults, is going to be 1170 plus 468. So that's going to be 1,638. So it says, were there more than 60% attendance, essentially? So if there are 2,600 seats available, we could do 1,638 over 2,600 times by 100 to turn it into a percentage. So 2,600 times by 100. This is going to be 63%. So yes, as 63% is greater than 60%. And that is our answer. Now, this is a tricky question because really requires you to read every little bit of detail in this question. Okay, let's move on to a different topic away from ratios now. Let's have a look at what's available next. So if we go back onto the home page, just need to delete this for a moment. All right, so now clear all drawings. Okay, so we have speed, distance, and time over here. So with speed, distance, and time, we have speed, distance, time. This is really important to remember your speed, distance, time triangle. And we can fill it in as we go along here. So an aeroplane traveled from New York City to Los Angeles. The aeroplane traveled a distance of 3,980 kilometers. So we've got 3,980 kilometers here in 5 hours, 24 minutes. Okay, now notice here it says give your answer in kilometers per hour. So the 24 minutes we need to convert to hours. Now, to convert this into hours, we simply need to write it out of 60. So the time is 5 hours, or 5 and 24 over 60. So we can write it as a mixed number. And this is an important little trick to do when you're converting minutes into hours. So it says work out the average speed. So we're looking for the speed. So speed is therefore equal to 3,980 kilometers over 5 hours and 24 over 60. So if we complete this division, so we get 3,980 divided by, now you can use your shift and then the fraction button to get a mixed number on your calculator. So 524 over 60. And that's going to give us 737.037 kilometers per hour. It says give your answer to the nearest whole number. So our answer is going to be 737 kilometers per hour. Nice and easy, 3 marks. You just need to be very careful when you're making these little conversions. Okay, let's have a go at another question now. Here is a speed, distance, time graph, which we need to analyze. Let's have a look then. So Yelena left home at 10 o'clock to cycle to a park. On her way to the park, she stopped at a friend's house and then continued her journey to the park. Here is the distance time graph for her journey to the park. Right. Did Elena cycle at a faster speed before or after she stopped at a friend's house? Give a reason. Okay, so speed is distance over time. Now, if you think about it, our y-axis is distance, our x-axis is time. So this is going to be y over x, so the change in y over the change in x. Uh, so essentially, we're looking at the gradient really to compare the speed. So if we have a look at the gradient over here, so in 1 hour, she travels a distance of 15 kilometers. So in the first part of her journey, it's 15 kilometers per hour. In the second part of the journey, which might be a little bit trickier to work out, but we can still do this. So let's go ahead and find the gradient again. So each square, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So each square is 15 minutes, 15, 30, 45, 1 hour. So we've got 15, we've got 30, and we've got 45 minutes here. And then we have what is the distance traveled? So we've gone from 25, so we've got 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So we're going up in ones. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that is going to be 9 kilometers. So if we're going to work out speed in hours, we need to do 9 over 45 minutes. Now, 45 minutes in hours is going to be 45 over 60. So that's going to be 3/4 of an hour, which is 0.75. So we can do 9 divided by 0.75, whereas previously we did 15 divided by 1, which we got 15 kilometers per hour. Here, 9 divided by 0.75 gives us 12 kilometers per hour. And I suppose you might be able to even see this with your eye. It's a little bit steeper, so it means the gradient is bigger. So did Elena cycle at a faster speed before or after she stopped? We can say she cycled faster after stopping. All right, so we're just comparing the gradients here. Okay, let's have a go at part B then. Let's have a go at part B. It says, I'm just going to rub some of this out to make it a little bit neater. So she stayed at the park for 45 minutes. So she gets to the park, she stays for 45 minutes. So we are going to be stationary for 15, 30, 45 up to this point here. And then we're going to use a ruler to draw this. She then cycled without stopping at a constant speed of 16 kilometers per hour from the park back to home. Okay, so again, we need to use our speed, distance, time triangle here. So we know our speed is 16. We know the total distance that she needs to cover back. So the distance from her house to the park is over here. So that's 24 uh, kilometers. So what we need to work out is how long is it going to take her to cycle back? So if we do 24 divided by 16, that gives us 1.5 hours. Now, 1.5 hours is going to be 1.5 hours or 1 hour 30 minutes. So from here, we need to count an hour and 30 minutes. So since we're going up in 15 minutes, we've got 15, 30, 45, 1 hour, 1 hour 15, 1 hour 30. So she will get home at 2:15. And what we need to do there is simply draw a straight line, and this is going to be our answer. And then it says, work out Elena's average cycling speed in kilometers per hour for the complete journey to the park and back. Give your answer correct to 1 decimal place. Okay, so how do we go about doing this one over here? So, one thing to be mindful of here is it says do not include the times when she was not cycling. So we need to work out the total distance divided by the total time taken over here. So the average speed is going to be her total. So average speed is going to be the total distance over the total time. So the total distance, well, she went 24 kilometers to the park and then 24 kilometers back. So that's going to be 48 kilometers. Now the time taken, so we're not including the bits when she was stationary. So over here, we've got from 10 to 11 is 1 hour. And then here from 11:15, we are going 15, 30, 45 minutes, which is 0.75 hours. Plus, from here to here, so we are going, that's 15, 30, 45, 1 hour, 1 hour 15, 1 hour 30. So it's going to be 1.5 hours again. So that's going to give us 48 over if we do 1 plus 0.75 plus 1.5, that's going to be 3.25. So kilometers, hours. So 48 divided by 3.25, that's going to give us 14.76. Give your answer to 1 decimal place, so that's going to be equal to 14.8 kilometers per hour. And let's just have a look at the mark scheme. The answer is in fact 14.8. All right, brilliant. So let's get rid of this. Let's go back to the home page. And in fact, we don't need to because the next topic that I wanted to cover was density, mass, and volume. Now, another formula that you need to know is dmv. So density is equal to mass over volume. And again, whatever you have, whatever bits of information you have, do put it into your formula triangle. So gold bar has a mass of 2.5 kg. The density of the gold is 19.3 grams per cubic centimeters. Now, this is where it's very, very sneaky because we have kgs here, but we have grams over there. So I'm going to convert the kg into grams by multiplying by 1,000. So we are going to get 12.5 thousand. So 12.5 times 1,000 is going to be 12,500 grams. So the mass is going to be 12,500 grams. And the density is going to be 19.3 grams per cubic centimeters. And what is that going to leave us with? Well, if we divide them, we want the volume, don't we? So we do 12,500 divided by 19.3. That is going to give us 647.7. So to three significant figures, it's going to be 648 cm cubed. And if we have a look at the answer, 648 is correct. This is a similar question, very, very similar. So I can skip this one. You can use the mark scheme to work this out. However, this is on the harder end of the density, mass, volume question. So I think it's worth doing this one. Now, before I do this, because I've got liquid A, liquid B, liquid C as well. So I'm going to just draw a little table here. Just makes life a little bit easier. So we have A, we have B, we have C, we have density, we have mass, and we also have a volume. So we can just fill this table in as we go along. So liquid A has the following density. Liquid B has the following density, so it's going to be 1.02 grams per cubic centimeters. And we've got a container that is filled completely with liquid C, and the cylinder has a radius of 3 and a height of 25. So this container is filled completely with liquid C, right? So from here, we can work out the volume of C because we can work out the volume of the cylinder. So the volume here is going to be pi times r squared times the height. So what that gives us, the radius is 3, so we get 9 pi times 25. So that's going to give us 225 pi cm cubed. So that is the volume of C. So I'm just going to write 225 pi cm cubed. Now, if we go back to the first part of the question, it says liquid A and liquid B are mixed together in this ratio to make, or by volume to make C. So this here, the volume of C contains 2/15, so 2 out of 15 of A and 13 out of 15 of B. So what we want to do is work out 2/15 of 225 pi, because that's going to give us the amount of A that was mixed into the liquid. And then we need to work out 13/15 of 225 pi, because that would give us the amount of B that was mixed to make C in terms of volume. So what we end up with is 2/15 of 225 is 30 pi. And that's going to leave us with 195 pi cm cubed. And again, 13/15 of 225 is equal to 195 pi. And this is going to be equal to 30 pi. And both of them added together gives us 225. Now, what is the question asking us? And I'm going to rub this out just to give us a little bit more room. Obviously, in an exam, keep your workings there. Make sure everything is visible on your paper, unless you've done something wrong and you want to cross it out. So it says work out the mass of the liquid in the container. Now, you might be wondering, where do you go from there next? Well, if you think about it, you can find the mass of A and you can find the mass of B, because we know we've got dmv. We know mass is density multiplied by volume. So why don't we just go ahead and do that? So we've got 30 pi multiplied by 1.21. That gives us 114.0 to 1 decimal place. And likewise over here, if I do 195 pi multiplied by 1.02, that will give us 624.9. So 624.9 grams and grams over here. Okay, so it says work out the mass of the liquid in the container. Well, the mass here is going to be the mass of the liquid in the container. So we're talking about the mass of C here. We are talking about the mass of C. So mass of C is going to be mass of A plus mass of B. So all we need to do here is add these two together. So 624.9 plus 114 will give us 738.9 grams. We want to write our answer to three significant figures. So our answer is going to be equal to 739 grams. And if we have a look at the mark scheme here, we can see 739 is the correct answer. Okay, let's go back to the home page. So we can do one question on compound interest, and we can then move on from here. So it says Giovanni invests 4,500 krona in a savings account for 4 years. He gets 2.4% per year compound interest. Work out how much money Giovanni will have in the savings account. So nice and easy, this one. We've got 4,500. So the initial investment multiplied by, now you could do this in two ways. 100% plus the rate you're receiving, so 2.4% to the power of 4. Now, a nicer way of writing this in that case would be 4,500 multiplied by percent means out of 100. So we are going to get 102.4 percent. Percent means out of 100 to the power of 4. And you can just simply type it into your calculator like this. The reason why I encourage this is because if you write it as a decimal multiplier, sometimes students make a mistake. They end up writing it as 102.4 as the decimal multiplier, but 102.4% as a decimal multiplier is 1.024. So you could have times 1.024, or you could simply write 102.4 over 100, whichever you've learned, whichever you're more comfortable with. So let's have a go at this then. So 4,500 times 102.4 over 100 to the power of 4 is going to be equal to 4947.8. Give your answer to the nearest koruna. So that is going to be 4948 korunas, not pounds. Just out of habit, I've written that. And that is your answer over here. And if we have a look at the mark scheme, 4948 is the correct answer. Right, moving on, so we can go ahead and do some questions on algebra over here. We'll do one from each section. Right, so use algebra to show that the recurrent decimal is as follows. And in fact, rather than doing this question, I'm going to do the one after, which is slightly more difficult. But the same principle applies here. So let's let x be equal to 0.13636, and this will go on forever. Now, we can multiply both sides by 10, so 10x is equal to 1.3636. Now, ideally, what we want to do is to have the same number of digits after the decimal point, but in this case, it's not the same digits. So we're going to multiply by 10 again. And still, this is no good. The digits are different. So we are going to multiply 100 by 10 now. So now we get 8,000x is equal to 136.3636. Okay, so now looking at it, it could potentially be this one and this one here. We've got 36, 36, 36, 36, and that pattern is going to continue. So what we can do is use equation number 2 and equation number 4 and subtract them from one another. So if I did 1,000x minus 10x, that leaves me with 990x. And if I did 136.36 recurrent minus 1.36 recurrent, that's going to leave me with 135. So what we can say over here is 990x is equal to 135. So x is equal to 135 over 990. And you can use your calculator to simplify this. So 135 over 990 is going to be 3 over 22. And again, if you go back to your calculator, you can see 3 over 22 is in fact equal to 0.136 recurrent. So now let's have a go at converting 0.2. So we can say let x be equal to 0.22 recurrent. 10x is going to be 2.22 recurrent. So this one's quite simple. We can subtract the two together. So 10x minus x leaves us with 9x. 2 minus 0 is still 2. So x is equal to 2 over 9. And if you type 2 over 9 into your calculator, you get 0.2 recurrent. Now we simply need to multiply them together. So 3 over 22 times 2 over 9 is 6 over 9 times 22 is 198. And 6 over 198, so 6 divided by 198 is in fact 1 over 33. So don't be put off by the fact that you have to do an operation. You simply convert this into a fraction, multiply them, and that will give you your answer. Okay, let's have a go at, I believe, the next topic, which is changing the subject. Now, I think it's worth doing one that's slightly trickier. So we can have a go at this one over here. So we have the following fraction minus 7. So add 7 to both sides. So we are going to get g plus 7 is equal to the following. Now again, multiply both sides by the denominator. So what we end up with is g plus 7 multiplied by 4 plus c is equal to c plus 3. Now we need to expand this out. So we get 4g plus gc plus 28 plus 7c is equal to c plus 3. Now, can we simplify anything? So we can subtract c from both sides, and we can subtract 3 from both sides, which will leave us with 0 here, and then we get 4g plus gc. 28 minus 3 is plus 25, and 7c minus c, so minus c, is going to be 6c. Now we want to group our c's together, and everything else goes on the other side. So I'm going to do the rest on this side. So we are going to have 6c plus GC is equal to, so we need to minus 4G and we need to minus 25. And then at this point, now that you have all the C's on one side, simply factor out the C. So we get C, 6 plus G is equal to minus 4G minus 25. And then we simply need to divide through by 6 plus G. So C is equal to minus 4G minus 25 over 6 plus G. All right. And that is our answer. So if we have a look, uh, they've written it in this form here. So minus 4G plus 25. We had minus 4G minus 25 over 6 plus G or G plus 6. Okay, so if we go back onto the home page, now we've got questions on inequalities. So let's have a go at one that is slightly trickier. So let's try B over here. So the problem with this one is that you've got 1, 2, 3 sides to the inequality. So what you want to do is still isolate x. So we're going to minus 3 on every side. So we get minus 5x plus 1. And now we can draw this inequality here. So we've got, and need to draw that line, 5 over there. Need to use a ruler. And we get up to 1. And we need to shade this in because it is less than or equal to. So we simply need to shade this one in, and this would be our answer. Okay, let's move on to the next topic over here. Right, so it says write down the 3 inequalities that define this region here. Now, first and foremost, I would rearrange these into the form of y is equal to mx plus c. So this one becomes y is equal to minus 2x plus 6. Here we get y is equal to 5 over 2x plus a half, divide through by 2. And this one becomes y is equal to minus 2x and then divide through by 3. So we get minus 2 over 3x plus 4/3 over here. Okay, so what do we need to do now? Now, what I would do is pick a coordinate in the region. Now, this is a nice coordinate to read over here. You could have picked this one as well, 2, 1, or 1, 2. Doesn't really matter. And then we're going to sub them in here and see what the symbol is going to be. So for the first one, we are going to say y some symbol minus 2x plus 6, and we're simply going to sub in one of these two coordinates. So I'm going to go with 1, 2. So y is 2, x is 1, plus 6. So what do we end up with over here? So 2 is something 4. Well, 2 is less than 4. So we need to use the less than sign here. And in fact, less than or equal to because it's a hard line. And just to double check I've done that right, we said y is 2, x is 1. So I'm just going to rub this one out. We have y is 2 and x as 1. So that is correct. Y is less than or equal to minus 2x plus 6. Right, and we want to do it for our next equation. So we said y is 2. And in fact, I'm going to write this equation out first. So y is 2, 5 over 2, x is 1, plus a half. Well, this is use your calculator to work this one out. So 5 over 2 is 2.5 plus a half is 3. So 2 is something 3. So 2 is less than 3. So it's going to be less than or equal to, because again, it's a hard line. So y is less than or equal to 5 of 2x plus a half. And then we need to do the last one. So we've got y minus 2/3 of x plus 4 over 3. So we said y is 2, x is 1. And what is that going to be? So minus 2/3 times 1 is still minus 2/3, plus 4/3 is going to be 2 over 3. And 2 over 3 is 0.6. So 2 is greater than 2/3. So it's going to be greater than or equal to. So y is greater than or equal to minus 2/3 of x plus 4 over 3. And there are multiple ways of writing this. We wrote it out in the following form. How did we write it out? Right, so this is how they've so this is one of the options that we could use. So if we have a look over here, we can see y is less than minus 2x plus 6. Y is less than or equal to 2.5 is the same as 5 over 2x plus a half, which is the same as 0.5. And y is greater than or equal to minus 2/3 of x plus 4 over 3. And that is our answer. So these are all acceptable for the 3 marks. The next question, guys, you can try yourselves to have a go at this one. So we are going to skip this. We have already done speed, distance, time. So after graphical inequalities, we have worded simultaneous equations. Okay, now just a disclaimer, in an exam, they will not say this is a simultaneous question. So you kind of need to figure that out yourself. But here, it's a small hint for you as part of your revision. Now, what we want to do is work out the area of the shaded region. Well, the area of the shaded region is the area of the whole minus, so shaded region equals area of the whole rectangle minus area of 12 small rectangles. So we want the area of the whole thing minus the area of the little identical rectangles around the whole rectangle. So we can work out the area of the whole rectangle. We could do 67 times 23. So 67 times 23 minus whatever that is. So for now, we'll just call it A. So 67 times 23 is 1,541 minus 8. Now we need to be able to work out the area of one rectangle. Now, how do we go about doing this? Because we really don't have enough information to do this. So what we can do is label the length and the width of the rectangles. So we can call this height here x, and this bit here is going to be y. So we can say 2x plus y is equal to 67. Now, since we have two variables, we need to form another equation with two variables as well. So if this is y, then this bit is going to be y, and if this is x, this length is also going to be x. So 1, 2, 3, 4x plus y must be equal to 123. And we may end up with negatives if we do this, which is fine, but to avoid that, we could rewrite this as 4x plus y is equal to 123, and 2x plus y is equal to 67. And since we have the same amount of y's in both equations, we don't need to scale up or down. We simply need to subtract. So 4x take away 2x is 2x, y minus y is 0, and 123 minus 67 is 56. So x is equal to 28. So we know that a width of one rectangle. Now we also need to find y. So 2x, and to find y, so I have 2 times 28 plus y is 67. So 2 times 28 is 56. So y must be 11. Okay. So now we know the height, we know the width, we can work out the area of one rectangle. So that's going to be 28 times 11, and that's going to be 308. So the area of the 12 small rectangles is going to be 12, because we have 12 of these. One, two, well, the question actually says we don't need to count. 12 times 308. So the area of the shaded region is going to be 1,541 minus 12 times 308. Have we made a small mistake here? 11 times 28. I think there is a small, right, I see where the error is. And I'm glad I've managed to work that out because I was getting a negative answer. So it's not 67 times 23, it's 67 times 123. Always good. Check your work. Okay, so 67 times 123 is 8,241. Right, so now this should make sense. So 8,241 minus 12 times 308 leaves us with 4,545. And let's see if this is the correct answer. 4,545 is in fact the correct answer. And you've got another question, guys. This one over here, pretty tricky, this one, but similar principles to be used. All right, so from there we can go on to graphical simultaneous equations. So we are reaching the end of number and algebra, so graphical simultaneous equations. Now, guys, just notice the mark allocation for these. If it's a one marker, you probably don't need to do too much, and that is the case. It says use the graph, so that's the key point here, use the graph. So if you're using the graph to find or to solve simultaneous equations, you're looking for the point of intersection. So in this case, we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So x is 6 and y is going to be minus 2 for this one. So 6 and minus 2 are your answers. Where it can get a little bit more difficult is where you have to draw the graph yourself as well. So you're already given one of the graphs. So you are given 2y plus x is equal to 1, but you do need to draw this one yourself. So it says by drawing another straight line, solve the simultaneous equation. So you can either use a table of values, but the first thing you need to do is first rearrange it. So y is equal to x plus 2. Add x to both sides, add 2 to both sides. And then you could draw a table of values. And we can start from, say, minus 3. So x, y, minus 3, minus 2, minus 1, 0. 1, and 2. So if we sub in 2, when x is 2, y is going to be 4. 2 plus 2 is 4. When x is 1, y is 3. When x is 0, y is 2. So we can kind of see the pattern here. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, -1. And then we can simply plot these points here. So we've got when x is 2, y is 4. When x is 1, y is 3. When x is 0, 2, -1, 1, -2, 0, and -3, -1 is over here. Now, guys, notice I've got a nice smooth set of points. If I'm getting wonky points, then I've probably made a mistake. So this is the best thing to do. Draw a table of values, see if you get a nice smooth straight line, which you do, and then join the points up, because we need to draw the line. And then it says, by drawing another line, solve the simultaneous equation. We're looking for the point of intersection. So we get -1, x is -1, and y is 1. Is this correct? Yes, it is in fact correct. All right, if we go back to the home page here. So now we get to algebraic fractions. So it does get a little bit more difficult. And again, you can try this yourself. Remember, you need to make the denominators the same. I'm just going to go through one question, if this allows me. So if I go back onto the home page, algebraic fractions. Having small technical issues. All right, so guys, now this is a very interesting question because it has a mixture of a lot of techniques that you need to use. So what I would do is work out everything that's inside the square brackets over here first. And since I'm dividing, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal or apply KFC here. So the first thing I'm going to do is just write 14 3x minus 21 plus x plus 4 times 2x plus 3 over. Okay, so very important with algebraic fractions is always look to factorize. So over here, we want to factorize this quadratic. So we are adding two numbers that will give us -6. And we are multiplying the same two numbers that will give us -56 times 2. -56 times 2 is going to be -112. Now, this is a little bit tricky because a factor of -112, pretty tricky to come by, but we know we've got 1 times 112, 2 goes into it, 2, so 112 divided by 2 is 56, so 2 and 56. Is it divisible by 3? No, because 1 plus 1 plus 2 is 4, so it's not divisible by 3, but it is divisible by 4, so 4, so 112 divided by 4 is 28. Is it divisible by 5? No. Is it divisible by 6? No. 7, we can try. 112 divided by 7 is 16. So we get 7 times 16, but does that give us 6 potentially? No, it doesn't. Now, is it divisible by 8? Well, if we could do 4 times 28, then we could do 8 times 14. Right, here we go. 8 and 14 could make 6 potentially. So we've got 8 and 14, 8 and 14, negative, -14. That works. So 8 minus 14 is -6. 8 times -14 is -112. So I am going to use the grid method to factorize this. So we can rewrite this out as 2x squared plus 8x minus 14x minus 56. So we're going to write these in here. So 2x squared plus 8x minus 14x minus 56. Now, x times x gives us x squared. One of them has to be a 2. So we could put the 2 over here. 2 times something to give us 8, but that's going to be positive 4. So 2x times 4 is 8x. And then what we get over here, well, something times x is going to be negative 14. So that's negative 14. And negative 14 times 4 is negative 56. So we've already factorized the inside or the quadratic inside the bracket. So we've got 14 and then we have x plus 4 and 2x minus 14. Okay, so now that we factorize everything, and I could rewrite this as over 1, because x plus 4 divided by 1 is still x plus 4, and then I can look to cancel down. So I can cancel these down over here. So x plus 4 and x plus 4. So what we end up with is 14 3x minus 21 plus what's inside this bracket. So we get 2x plus 3 over. Remember, when they cancel down, they don't disappear. This becomes a 1. So 1 times 2x plus 3 is 2x plus 3. And 1 times 2x minus 14 is 2x minus 14. Okay, so now I'm just going to rub all of this out to give myself a bit of space. And again, in your exam, unless you don't want something to be seen by the examiner, please do not rub it out. So I want the examiner to see my method. So if I was sitting the exam, I wouldn't be rubbing these out. So we need to add these two. So we want a common denominator. Now, it's very awkward because we would have to multiply 3x minus 21 by 2x minus 14, and we would have to multiply 2x minus 14 by 3x minus 21. And that's going to make this question very long and tricky, but always look to see if you can factorize. So we've got 14 over. If I factorize this, I can factor out 3. So we get 3x minus 7 plus 2x plus 3 over. And if I factorize this, I'm going to get 2x minus 7. Oh, so this makes our life a lot easier now by simply noticing that we can factorize the denominators. So what do I need? Well, I've got x minus 7 on both. I've got 2 and a 3. So the lowest common multiple would be 6. So I'm going to multiply this side by 2. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. And I'm going to multiply this side by 3. So what we get then is 2 times 14 is 28 over 6x minus 7 plus 3 times 2x is 6x plus 9 over 6x minus 7. So we now have a common denominator. So we can now add the top. So 28 plus 9 is going to be 37 plus 6x over, and they want the answer in this form here. So we just need to expand the bracket. So we get 6x minus 42, and that is our answer. Now remember, guys, you do not add the denominators when you're adding fractions, whether it's algebraic or standard fractions with numbers. And if we have a look at the answer, we get 6x plus 37 and 6x minus 42. Okay, and the reason why I want to do this one as well um, is because we have an interesting type of factorization which always creeps up in more difficult algebraic fraction questions. So if you have a look at this, this is the difference of two squares. So difference of two squares is a squared minus b squared a minus b. So in this case, now that we have 9x squared minus 144, we could rewrite this as 3x all squared minus 12 squared. And now we can apply the difference of two squares here. So we've got 3x plus 12 multiplied by 3x minus 12. And this in itself is really key to this question. So we have 6x cubed over 3x plus 12 multiplied by 3x minus 12 times, remember, we need to multiply by the reciprocal, 3x minus 4 over 2x to the power of 4. Now notice here, if we expand this, we will get 3x minus 12. So this is equivalent to 3x minus 12. So these two cancel out. 3 times x is 3x, 3 times minus 4 is minus 12. So these two immediately cancel out. So what we have is 6x cubed over, so this becomes a 1, over 2x to the power of 4 multiplied by 3x plus 12. Now you might be tempted to expand the denominator, but let's just see if we can simplify. So 6 and 2, that can be simplified to, just write it underneath it. So 2 goes into both of them, so we are going to get 2. And then x cubed goes into both of these. So x cubed divided by x cubed is just 1. And then we have x to the power of 4 and x to the power of 3. That's going to leave us with an x. And then we have 3x plus 12 over here. Now, have we missed anything out in this question? Because we are meant to end up with a 1 there. So let's just see where we may have gone wrong. So this leaves us with 2 over. Oh, sorry, it's not 2. That's why it's 3. Now I know where we've gone wrong. So 6 and 2, both are divisible by 2, but 6 divided by 2 is 3. So we've got 3 over here. That's where we've gone wrong. And then if we expand the bottom, we get 3 over 3x squared plus 12x. And we can factorize the denominator. So we get 3x on the outside and we get x plus 4 on the inside. 3's cancel out, so we're left with 1 and x plus 4 on the inside. And that is our final answer. Okay, amazing stuff. Let's move on. So remember, the difference of two squares is critical when you're doing algebraic fractions. So if we go back to the home page, the next topic that we want to look at is completing the square. Okay, so completing the square, what we want to do over here is half this value, so we get x minus 3 squared, and we always subtract the square of this number here, so minus 3 squared, and then plus the 1. So what we end up with is x minus 3 squared minus 9 plus 1. So our final answer is x minus 3 squared minus 8. And that's our answer. And if we want, so what does it say? It says find the value of a and b actually. So we want a and b. So b is going to be minus 8. And a is going to be simply plus 3. Are we right with that? Oh, sorry. Yes, I knew I made a mistake there. So a is going to be positive 8 because because this is minus b. So if we sub in this value here, it's minus minus, which becomes plus. So b is plus 8. And it says write down the coordinates of the turning point. So y is equal to x minus 3 squared minus 8. You could use differentiation to do this, but the fact that it says hence write down means use your answer from the previous question. So what we want is the value of this bracket to be equal to 0. In that case, x has to be 3. So when x is 3, 3 minus 3, 0, 0 squared is 0, 0 minus 8 leaves us with minus 8. So x is going to be 3 and y is going to be minus 8. So these are the coordinates of our turning point. All right, and another type where things might get a little bit more difficult is a question like this, where you have a coefficient in front of x squared, but we can factor out the coefficient. So we could rewrite this as 2x squared minus 11 over 2x plus 9 over 2. So we have taken out a factor of 2. Now, if you expand this, you will get your original expression. So 2x squared, 2 times minus 11 over 2 is minus 11, and 2 times 9 over 2 is going to be simply 9 again. So this is exactly the same as this, but we've just factored out the coefficient of x squared. So now we need to complete the square like we did previously. So we've got 2x minus, now we need to half this, so 11 over 2 divided by 2 leaves us with 11 over 4 squared minus the square of this value here. So that's going to be minus 11 over 4 squared plus the 9 over 2. So the 9 over 2 over here. And now we need to tidy what's inside the square bracket. So we've got x. Now, what we get is, and remember, the reason why I've written 11 over 4, it should have been minus 11 over 4, but it doesn't matter. If you square it, it will give you a positive answer. But we are going to get minus 11 over 4, so that's going to be 121. And we get 16 plus 9 over 2. And then we could tidy this up even a bit more. Minus 121 over 16 plus 9 over 2 gives us minus 49 over 16. And then we need to write it in this form here. So we need to multiply the 2 with this bracket, and we need to multiply the 2 with this number here. So what we get is 2 squared, and we get minus 49 over 8. 2 times 49 over 16 leaves us with 49 over 8. And this is our answer on completing the square. And if we have a look at the answer, 2x minus 11 over 4 squared minus 49 over 8. All right, so that's completing the square done. And now we can go on to composite and inverse function. So what we want to find is GF3 over here. So the first thing you could do is find F3 first, or f of minus 3. So f of minus 3 is going to be 2 multiplied by minus 3 plus 3 squared. So that is going to be minus 6 plus 3 squared. So that is going to be minus 3 squared, which gives us a value of 9. So since f of 3 is 9, we could rewrite this as g of 9. And g of 9 is therefore going to be equal to 2 times 9 minus 1. And g of 9 is going to be 18 minus 1, which is going to be 17. So g f of minus 3 is equal to 17. And again, we can have a look at the answer and we can see 17 is the correct answer. Right, now we need to find the inverse function. So if we want the inverse function, we could say let the inverse function, so let be equal to y. So we can now rewrite this as y is equal to 2x minus 1. But since I'm finding the inverse function, I'm going to rearrange this and swap the x and y around. So x equals 2y minus 1. And now I want to make y the subject, because when I make y the subject, that gives me my inverse function. So we're going to add 1 to both sides. So x plus 1 equals 2y. And then we're going to divide by 2. So x plus 1 over 2. So the inverse function g of minus 1x, which is y, is equal to x plus 1 over 2. So x plus 1 over 2 is my answer. All right, let's go to the home page, and now we can have a go at the last section, which is differentiation. Okay, so it says find the coordinates, the x coordinates, of the 2 points where the gradient of the curve is 1 over 3. Now, the gradient function is dy by dx, so we need to differentiate over here. So when we differentiate, we do 3 times 4, which is 12. That's power of 1. 1 times minus 8 is minus 8. We get x to the power of 0, and anything to the power of 0 is 1. So we don't need to write x to the power of 0. We can rub that out. And likewise, this is now x to the power of 0, 5x to the power of 0. So 0 times 5 is 0. So we're left with nothing. Now it's saying find the x coordinates where the gradient is a third. So we can, dy by dx means the gradient. So the gradient is a third. So we can say 1 over 3 equals 12x squared minus 8. We need to find x, multiply both sides by 3. 1 is equal to 36x squared minus 24. Equate this to 0, so add 1 to both sides. We get 0 minus 20, sorry, minus 1 to both sides. So all from both sides. So we get minus 25. And notice here, this is the difference of 2 squares. You could just rearrange, or you could use the difference of 2 squares. So we can say is equal to 6x minus 5 multiplied by 6x plus 5. So that means 6x minus 5 is equal to 0, or 6x plus 5 is equal to 0. So x is equal to 5 over 6, or x is equal to minus 5 over 6. And these are your two x coordinates where the gradient is 1 over 3. Right, the next question is as follows. So find dy by dx. Well, 3 times a third is 3 over 3, which is 1. So we get x squared minus 9. So this bit is relatively straightforward. But now it says find the range of values of x for which c has a negative gradient. So if we're talking about a negative gradient, that means the gradient is less than 0. So in other words, dy by dx has to be less than 0. If the question was a positive gradient, or in relation to a positive gradient, then dy by dx would have to be greater than 0. So do bear that in mind. If it was asking for stationary points, so it might have said work out the coordinates of the stationary points of this graph, then at stationary points, the gradient is 0. So here we have a negative gradient. Here we have a positive gradient, and at the stationary point, we have a gradient of 0. And if you think about a cubic curve, right? So these are your stationary points, or your turning points. So these are the points where your gradient is 0. And then you have points where the gradient is negative, so it's going down. And then you have points where the gradient is positive, where your curve is going up. All right, so let's have a look at this one. So this is in relation to a negative gradient. So we know what dy by dx is. So we can say dy by dx is less than 0, therefore x squared minus 9 is less than 0. And now, since this is an inequality, we need to find the roots of our curve. So our curve is going to be a quadratic that looks something like this. And we need to find these roots here. And again, we could complete the square. So we could say x plus 3, sorry, not complete the square, work out the difference of two squares. So that means our x values or our roots are going to be at minus 3 and at 3. So if you think about this, your inequality is either beyond these points or in between these points. So your inequality could be, you can only have two scenarios. You could only have a scenario where either x is less than minus 3 or x is greater than 3. So that would be one possible solution. The other possible solution would be minus 3 x 3. So between these two. So it's either beyond the roots or it's between the roots. So there are two possible answers we could have. But which one is it then? Well, what I like to do is I like to pick a point within my roots. And the nicest point here to pick is 0. And sub it into the original inequality. And if it satisfies the inequality, it means it's between the roots. So this would be the correct answer. If it doesn't satisfy the inequality, then it means it's beyond the roots. So let's see. Let's pick 0 and sub it in here. So 0 squared minus 9 is still less than 0. So if I pick a point between these two, it will satisfy my inequality. So this is in fact the correct answer, and we do not need that one there. And that's it. So find the range of values. So the range of values are all the values between minus 3 and 3. Okay, guys, I hope you found this useful. I will do another video on the geometry and stats questions. Please do make use of the PDF that's at the end or in the description section of this video, and you can go through the questions yourselves. And if you have any questions, please do ask in the comment section. Thank you and goodbye.